Resiliency and why it is essential in the formation of a squad. Welcome to my brief this afternoon, Sergeants. My name is Corporal Dunn. Today's classification for this brief is unclassified. I would like to thank my SGL, Staff Sergeant Collins, for coming to today's brief. So let's get into what we're going to go over today. There's going to be a quick introduction. We're going to go through why adaptive behaviors are essential with resiliency in a squad. We're going to go over a purpose and belonging and why that is essential in the formation of a squad, and healthy coping mechanisms and making sure our soldiers are utilizing these appropriately. We're going to go through a quick conclusion, and then I'm going to open up the floor to any questions that you guys may have. So let's get into it. Adaptive behaviors, a sense of purpose and belonging, and healthy coping mechanisms are the foundation blocks to providing resiliency within a squad. Knowing what resiliency is the first step into implementing it within our teams. Resiliency is the mental, physical, emotional, and behavioral ability to face and cope with adversity, adapt to change, recover, learn, and grow from setbacks. That comes from What is Resiliency 2020? So why is that important? Soldiers are being tested mentally, physically, and emotionally throughout their day-to-day lives within the U.S. Army. Adversity, change, and setbacks are prevalent issues that soldiers are facing today. Resiliency is how soldiers navigate these roadblocks to complete the mission. Not all soldiers come into the Army already having this foundation. It's up to soldiers and leaders to teach these to these soldiers that maybe don't have them. It is essential in today's rapidly changing battlefield. Being resilient is often the deciding factor in a unit's overall ability to complete their mission. Squads need their soldiers to have adaptive behaviors to allow them to change to the world around them. The only certainty is uncertainty. This is a phrase that we've had ingrained into our memory since the first day of basic training. Change is an all too true reality of day-to-day life within the Army. The Army regularly and sometimes purposefully puts its soldiers through ever-changing circumstances. The training model that leaders utilize to train their soldiers often holds adaptive behaviors in a high focus. Leaders place their soldiers under challenging positions, forcing teams to adapt to the changing circumstances to complete the mission. When soldiers see that their teams adapt and overcome adversity, they know that squad's resiliency is active and robust. Environments, routines, and situations are always changing through our lives. Just take a look at how the coronavirus pandemic is changing and shaping how the world operates. Masks are required in public places, social gatherings are unacceptable, classrooms are going virtual, training activities are just not what they were 8 short months ago. These are all new normalities that we're facing every day. And without these adaptive behaviors, these changes are going to seem insurmountable. Resiliency is seeing these changes as an obstacle that you can overcome. Adapting is how we're going to win our battles. The next step to reviving resiliency is establishing a sense of purpose and belonging to soldiers within their squad. Soldiers, when they realize that they're fulfilling a need within their organization, it keeps them searching for the best ways to complete the mission. Creative thinking to overcome adversity is at the heart of resilience. Leaders should facilitate an environment where all members of the team are involved in mission-essential tasks. Activities such as obstacle courses, confidence courses, these are all tools that leaders are utilizing to help establish this within their teams. At Camp Dodge Joint Maneuver Training Center, many Iowa National Guard soldiers utilize the Leader's Reaction Course. The Leader's Reaction Course is a series of events that soldiers navigate to complete mission tasks. Each lane provides soldiers with tasks and scenarios that they're going to have to overcome. They use wooden planks, ropes, and other tools as bridges to get ammo and equipment across, and sometimes personnel across a span, sometimes even a water crossing. During these activities, soldiers are faced to work together and to problem solve to complete their tasks. Participants quickly realize how they can contribute to the success of the mission throughout the leader's reaction course. Enabling soldiers to realize their purpose within a squad is the most effective way to establish a soldier's sense of belonging. Therefore, ultimately adding to the resiliency of each member of the squad. If each member of the squad is resilient, it translates into the squad as a whole. Healthy coping mechanisms are yet another method to providing resiliency in a squad. Let's look at some coping mechanisms. The definition of a coping mechanism is an adaptation to an environmental stress that is based on conscious or unconscious choice, and that enhances control over a behavior or gives psychological comfort. And that comes from Newhall C. 2014. However, there are healthy and unhealthy ways for soldiers to combat stresses of the Army life. All too often, soldiers turn to unhealthy habits such as drinking, smoking, and otherwise reckless behaviors. However, there are ways to cope with that stress in a healthy way. Some examples of healthy coping mechanisms are exercising, talking through the problems, and doing a pro and con of a certain situation. These examples lead to a soldier's ability to face their adversities head on rather than avoiding them. And again, the current coronavirus pandemic, soldiers need to ask themselves, are we coping with these new changes in a healthy or unhealthy way? Are we developing constructive habits, or are your soldiers falling prey to unhealthy mechanisms? A squad will fail its mission if unhealthy habits take hold. Failure is not an option to soldiers in the United States Army. Therefore, constructively coping with stress is essential. Once a soldier knows how to handle stress and face it head on, they can be an influential part of a resilient team. A resilient squad will show adaptive behaviors, a sense of purpose and belonging, and healthy coping mechanisms. Adaptive behaviors allow soldiers to see change as an obstacle that they can overcome. Obstacles are not going away. A soldier's sense of purpose within their squad allows them to work within their position to help a unit complete their mission. Everyone has a part to play. Healthy coping mechanisms allow soldiers to deal with adversity constructively. Unhealthy coping mechanisms lead to unhealthy results. Soldiers who do not enter the Army already possessing these skills, with that being true, it's a well-known fact that soldiers can learn new abilities. It's the responsibility of the soldiers responsibility of the team leaders to give their soldiers these tools in order to complete their mission. Resiliency is only going to enhance a squad's effectiveness. In today's world, the coronavirus pandemic is changing the way of life by the minute. These are challenges soldiers are going to have to embrace. The U.S. Army and our nation's soldiers face more threats now on today's battlefield than ever before. Without resiliency, completing the mission would be an unobtainable expectation. There are still battles to be fought, though, and there are still wars to be won. On today's battlefield, resiliency is the deciding factor of success or defeat. Resiliency is more critical now than it ever has been. Are there any questions? This concludes my brief. Thank you all for coming, and have a good rest of your afternoon.